Well, hey everyone. Thanks for joining me on Telling Tall Tales the Right Way. I work with words every day and I can speak. Um, Today, I'm so excited because it's not just going to be my talking head that you see. I'm having a conversation today with the most amazing Cindy Rodriguez Constable. She is an accomplished businesswoman. She has worked in corporate, so she's done all those super cool corporate things, but now she runs a SaaS company, and she does all these other things. But she's also a writer and a speaker, and we are both addicted to really good storytelling. She runs a fiction book club, and I don't know. I think I kind of want to join that. But anyway, she is going to join me, and today we are going to talk about Paradise, which is a show that just wrapped its first season on Hulu, and it is garnering a lot of attention. And she and I have been talking about it on Facebook, but I thought, oh my God, this would make a great episode for this season. So, without further ado, welcome, Cindy. Hi.
Hey, Heather, how are you? I'm so
Oh,
excited to be here.
I'm
You're right.
excited to have you.
Paradise is a great
It is a
show.
great show.
Like,
Okay. All right. So we're going to be mildly professional about this. That's a lie. I'm never professional on here. um, so what we're going to do is we're going to break down Paradise using the elements of every great story. If you've watched my show last season or you caught the first episode last week, you would know that the three elements of every great story include well-drawn characters, uh, a defined sense of time and place, so really good world building, and then conflict and resolution. Now, in the case of Paradise, it was only 8 episodes, but so we have several conflicts and resolutions, but
mhm.
the big one made me almost fall off the couch after season one or episode one.
Yes, the overarching lie that
Yes.
we've been
And so
told.
I'm also just going to preface this entire conversation with, if you haven't watched it yet and you're like, oh, don't spoil it for me, you scroll away,
Yeah,
friends.
scroll away.
Scroll away because this is spoiler city right now.
And I
Okay.
encourage you to go binge it.
Binge it because it's over now. So you can get them like
Yep.
one after the other. We had to wait, like watch it, wait a week, watch it. Like they dropped them one
Yes,
at a time.
they did. It was cruel and unusual punishment.
So rude, right? Oh my God. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this. Whoops, that's not where I wanted to go. There we go. All right. So this is not a PowerPoint presentation. I just really wanted to show everyone who the primary characters of the show are. So in the middle, we have Agent Xavier Collins, which thank you to Cindy for reminding me right before this started what his name was, because all I think of is Sterling K. Brown. But we have Agent Xavier Collins. On his right is President, what's his name?
Oh my gosh, isn't that terrible? I just drew a blank on the president's
Anyway,
name.
he's the
Cal
president.
Bradford.
He's the
Cal Bradford.
president.
President
Oh,
Cal
Bradford.
Bradford.
Yes, Bradford, played by James Marsden. And then on his right, I don't actually think we've ever heard her full name referred to on the show,
No,
but
they
she
have
goes,
not. They just always refer to her as Sinatra.
yeah, Sinatra is her code name.
Mm.
So these are the three primary characters. Now, there's also these characters. So we have in the top photo, we have Agent Billy Pace. He's on the left, and Jane. I don't think we know her last name.
Yep.
Or if we do,
It
it
didn't
doesn't
stick.
matter because
Yeah,
she's
if we do, it
Jane.
didn't stick.
And then we have Agent Robinson, who is like the head of the Secret Service. Okay. Now, I'm including this picture of Paradise because it just looks like a regular town. But Paradise kind of does become another character. Like the town becomes a character. What
Yes.
what what did you make of the way the town was created? So let's talk world building.
Yeah, so for me, the world building plays into like the core theme of perception versus reality, right? Because it's supposed to be paradise, right? But we find out almost immediately that's really not paradise, right? That there's
Not fair.
something more
Well,
nefarious going on, underneath.
mhm.
And it was also interesting that, we're rebuilding this world because, yeah, it's a dystopian uh, tale that's
You don't find that out
pretty
until the end of the
right.
first
And it
episode.
presents itself as utopian initially. But,
Yeah.
like as it unravels, you start to see that basically, which I guess big spoiler for the last scene for the last episode, you find out that we just kind of recreated what we already had inside of this mountain.
Yes.
We
So
didn't do anything new. We just
yes.
put it
So
underground.
that's the big reveal, right? So this is the big spoiler. Okay. We
So
find
initially
out.
I thought, wow, this place is great though. Like when they first were showing the town, I was like, how did they like manage all of this like underground like this? It's
But didn't you
amazing.
think the way so I knew something was off by the way the episode was shot.
Yes.
Because the color is, like, the brightness is saturated, but the tones of the colors have kind of been sucked out.
Yes.
So
There's
black
no
doesn't look black,
vibrancy.
red doesn't look
Right.
red, right?
There's no vibrancy to the colors.
Yes, yes, thank
Mhm.
you. That's the word, vibrant. God. Um, so I thought something was kind of up. Like, it's not just a thriller because that's what I thought it was. I thought it was just
Yeah.
a thriller, right? And so, but then I'm watching it, and the way it's shot with the saturated light, but no vibrancy to the colors, made me realize, oh, this might actually be something a little bit more.
Yeah,
And
and I think
then,
it was because like, they set it up, like,
hmm
they set it up, right? It was like they were establishing the key players, like the characters we just talked about,
yep,
and kind of giving us kind of the lay of the land or the rules of the new world that they're in.
yeah.
But
Can you talk
you
about
can
that a little
start to
bit?
see the tension build though with just even the interactions between, the president and agent, Collins. You see there's tension there. You're
Hmm
kind of like, but there's something's up here. Like what they don't tell you what, but you're just like, it's off. It feels off.
Yeah.
Something feels off.
Yes. So let's go back to that. So James Marsden, he's a great character actor. We've seen him in lots of things in X-Men movies and
Mhm.
whatever else, but he plays President Bradford. And there is definitive tension there, but we don't know when it starts out if it's because he's of a different political persuasion than
Yeah.
Agent Collins is, or if Agent Collins has seen him do some maybe not up on right stuff that's
Yeah.
not necessarily on the up and up. Like
Yeah.
we don't know what the tension is, but then it almost kind of doesn't matter because dun 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 the president gets murdered.
Yeah. He's murdered right out of the box. So we're like, oh
Yeah, we're like 15 minutes in and
no.
he's off, right?
And it's like, oh my gosh. And then it's just so like, and something's off because of the way, Agent Collins handles the murder scene,
Yes, that
right?
was
Like he
yes.
immediately goes against protocol.
Almost yes, absolutely. And
And
the
it's
way that
almost instinctual for him to go against protocol, right? Because
yep,
he was like, hang on a second, we're not calling this in. Like
he waited
he
30 minutes.
knew, yeah, he knew something was off, but he didn't know what. And of course, he
Yep.
doesn't still know what exactly, but he just knew, right? That
Mhm.
something like the math wasn't mathing for him.
Absolutely. And what I found most particular or peculiar rather about that scene is how he finds the cigarette with the number written on it
Yeah.
and doesn't think to pocket it or he destroys it.
Yeah. Well, he took it with him because he took it home with him at first.
Yes.
And then he memorizes it and then he destroys it. But he
Okay.
never enters it into evidence or the record or anything because he knows
It means
that
something.
it means something, but
Yeah.
he just doesn't know what. And he's like trying to figure out, like, is it a safe code? He checks the safe, like he's like these 6 digits or something. And he keeps just trying to figure out what do they go to because like he's it's you could see he's like suspicious that somehow Cal, President Bradford, like, knew he was gonna die, knew his killer, something is up because he left a message
Yeah.
in this little cigarette. And it's just like, of course, we, we are all racking our brains for 8 episodes trying to figure out what is it
Well,
about.
and we think we start to believe that maybe Agent Billy Pace
Yeah.
killed him, because Billy we as happens a lot during TV shows. We're dropped into these people's lives at this
Mhm.
particular point of time, right? Like, they've been living in this town for 3 years. We come to find out they're eating cashew cheese, which,
Yeah.
sorry, sorry to my vegan
There's just
friends,
something
but
about these fries. Like, they're obsessed with those
they're obsessed with the
fries.
fries.
So I wonder
Um,
if there's gonna be something like maybe they're drugging the fries. Like, like what is the deal with the fries?
well, I think so. What I think is the fries were foreshadowing for the very last episode, right? Where
Right.
they
Yes.
brought
Because
the
when they
waitress.
said, "Oh, wait a minute, you're allergic,"
Right,
and
exactly.
it was
So
like dun dun dun.
so the world is very well defined, right? They live in
For
this
sure.
town. Um, there is a president. What I found what it took me a minute to kind of like the light bulb to go on. There's no Congress. That
Right.
there's
There's no Congress. There's no cabinet. There's no.
no.
It's just a president,
Yeah. Yep.
and then this little gaggle of billionaires who really run things and tell the president what he is or isn't going to do.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's a vice president, but he was, he just didn't really have a role.
He just, he to me he was like the television version of the line in Hamilton where he says John Adams doesn't have a real job anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like, it kind of reminded me of that, but the characters and the way that they're introduced help define their not just their role in the show, but also like some core aspects of their personality, right?
Yes, for sure.
um and so what I also found interesting, because whenever we're watching a show like this, obviously you can't stay in the present to be fully informed about what's happening. You have to
Yeah.
kind of go back in time, and so over the course of the season we do that with the individual characters, the president, um Xavier Collins, who's Sterling K. Brown, Sinatra.
Mhm.
Um, Not so much Agent Robinson, though. We don't really learn too much
Yeah, we
about
don't
her.
really see she shows up in it, but she's from Xavier's perspective of
Correct.
how he came to see her, like, basically on the day that shit's going down.
Right.
She's like, "Hey, I'm in charge and this is what's happening."
Yep.
And, then it kinda all unravels, from
But
there.
we do learn quite a bit about Billy, which I thought was an interesting choice
Yeah.
by the series showrunners, because okay, again, this conversation is spoiler central.
Yes.
Um, but we learned so much about Billy only for him to be killed.
Right.
And again, spoiler, he's killed by Jane.
By Jane, which for
By
me, that
Jane.
was the first biggest, like, like,
Like that
shock
was like
moment.
after the reveal of
Yeah.
why they're living in paradise and how paradise
Mhm.
came to be. That was the first one that was the next move that made me like sit up and be like, oh,
Yeah,
what now?
because she's portrayed as this little mousy, inexperienced, scared little
Yeah,
girl who's,
yeah.
having a relationship with Billy.
Hmm.
And, he's the big, strong, experienced, tough guy, and all his background shows why he became a trained assassin and all this kind of stuff. And turns out, and it was foreshadowed, right? Because when Billy went, which I thought was the dumbest thing Billy could have done, went and threatened Sinatra, right? Like, you
Well,
know,
but
he
it,
basically
it
revealed
fit
his
with his
cards to
character.
her.
Don't you think it fit with his character, because he was
Yes,
very
the
much an
bravado.
act first, think slash ask questions later kind of a dude,
Right. The
right?
bravado fit his character.
Hmm.
But like
Absolutely.
from a strategic perspective, anyway, I would not have done that. But then Jane, offs him
Yeah.
in the most cool, calm, and collected manner and watches him die and, like saunters out of there. And then she plays the victim just
Mhm.
masterfully with the tears and the, "Oh, I don't know what to do, I'm so lost." So she's
Yes.
still, even after the last episode, the most un like,
She's a little
unexpected
terrifying.
threat. Right, she's the unexpected threat
Yeah, she's a little
that people still
terrifying.
don't know. Mhm.
And what I found interesting the way so we're skipping ahead a little bit, but it's whatever. But what I found interesting about because episode 7, which is really the
Mhm.
penultimate episode, and then the
Yes.
season finale happens, which it's not that stuff doesn't happen in the season finale, but it's not nearly as um earth shattering as what takes place in episode 7, right? Like I
Well, I
feel like
think episode 7 is kind of like where the illusion is completely shattered,
correct.
is what happens in episode 7, because like, the perfect facade had been set up of the world and how it's all, so
Mhm.
neatly fastened together, and we've now seen the mastermind behind it, but how it's still all operating. And then episode 7, they just like shatter the illusion. Like,
Absolutely. So
there's
let's
no
talk
illusion
about the
left.
illusion. Let's
Mhm.
talk about the illusion because this is where the primary conflict comes in. So the big overarching umbrella conflict is that, um, and you mentioned it earlier when we were talking, is dystopian, right? So it has
Yeah.
taken place after the
Some cataclysmic weather event
yeah, so
takes out the globe.
basically somehow half of the well, Antarctica ice shelf melts and falls into the ocean. Of course, that sets off tsunamis and all this sort of thing. While in the middle of all that, they're trying to figure out like when do we start telling people, and it's rolling up, right? It's about to start taking out
Right.
entire
The
state.
tsunami is on the way.
Yeah, it's on the way.
And they're still arguing about whether or not they should tell anyone,
Yes.
right?
Yep. They're
They're
still like,
escaping to
should
the
we just
bunker,
yeah, we
and
need to
they're
put the
like,
president to the bunker, but should we tell the American people that they're all about to die? Like, I'm sorry, why is this a conversation?
yeah.
Like, what?
And they were perfectly fine not telling. Like, that was their plan.
Yeah,
Their plan was to nuke everyone
yeah,
and not tell them what was going on. Like,
right. So we're having this cataclysmic weather event, which actually exaggerates the conversations that are currently taking place about
mhm,
climate change, right?
yep,
So in the show, they have climate experts and all of the scientists and everything telling them this is going to happen.
right.
We
For about a
aren't really
decade, they're
sure
telling
about,
them.
yeah, we just don't know when it's going to happen, but it's
Mhm.
definitely going to happen, which is what starts Sinatra and her gaggle of billionaires. That should actually be a scientific term, right?
Gaggle of billionaires.
Like we have a murder of crows, we should have a
Yes,
gaggle
a
of
gaggle of
billionaires,
billionaires.
right?
I
So
don't know
the
what else to call them.
yeah. So Sinatra and her gaggle of billionaires start planning to build a city
Mhm.
in a mountain in Colorado. And it's not just a city for like a couple thousand people.
It's
This
25,000 people, I think, is what this
25,000
is who fit it.
people live in paradise, and that's technically the name of the town, Paradise. That's
Yeah,
what they call it. And everybody was individually chosen.
right. Over
Sinatra enlisted
years, right? It took them years
years.
to construct this. So
Mhm.
they didn't not believe the scientists. They believed the scientists. They went about creating safety for themselves and the chosen few, because in a country of 350 million people, 25,000 is the chosen few.
Right. And
And they psychological evaluations and health, they did all of this
yeah,
very detailed selection process of who would go into
yes,
this bunker.
yes. And so it takes years to build, years to vet everybody who's going to come down there. They've created this really complex communication system, air ventilation, like they've done all the things that would
Mhm.
be necessary to live a life as if you're still topside.
Like on the surface, right? Yeah,
Right.
a simulated sun and all the things.
Which is the that is so freaky. So at the end of episode 1, they show the sun is really this like I can't even imagine how enormous this actual light has to be, but it's some
Yeah,
LED light that and so it's not that the city's just built inside the mountain. It's under like a dome.
Yeah.
It's under a glass dome. And so the sun and moon, I would assume, travel along this track that follows the dome. So it's the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west,
Yep.
right?
But
It's
it simulates a world very,
yeah.
very closely.
And because it's glass, they could make it uh I assume it could rain. They have
Yeah, and
water down there.
cloudy and yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, they have everything. So that's how we find out that this is what's happened. And then subsequent episodes jump back in time so that we learn more about the president, Xavier Collins, Billy, and Sinatra, and then how this world came to be. And it's not until the last episode actually that
Right,
we
and we get the full story.
get the full story. But so that's the overarching big conflict. In between there's lots of little ones. Oh, well, not little, but the president is murdered. Who murdered him?
Mhm.
Um,
Billy's
uh,
murdered. Who murdered him?
yeah. And then, but yes, Billy's murdered. Who murdered him? And then we have there. The president said, "Okay, we're going to do an expedition to see if there's any life, right?
Yeah.
Because at the same time we're having all these tsunamis and everything go all over the world. Russia and China start shooting at each other, and now nuclear weapons are going.
Right.
So now
Other
nuclear
countries start
weapons are
throwing
going
nukes because they're thinking they nuked us. No, we're gonna nuke them, and
right,
it's chaos. It's complete chaos, right? So they're trying to
right.
find out, did anybody survive? And then they find out that people survived. There's
Well, there wasn't
communication.
actually a nuclear holocaust in America, though. We
No,
find that out.
because we find out he decided to use the EMPs,
Right.
electromagnetic pulses, and not send the nukes against the wishes of the gaggle of billionaires.
Yes.
So America, that North America, United States, has some survivors.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, Cindy and I, to talk about Paradise. This was the end of part 1. And next week, tune in. It's the season finale. And we are continuing this discussion about Paradise, including revealing all the things that you might not think you want to know, but are really, really cool. Okay, that's it. Okay, bye.